Invasion coming up in a couple of weeks, and also gets ready now for the live heavyweight fight between Oleg Maskaev, who holds a heavyweight title belt, and Samuel, the Nigerian Nightmare, Peter, who is regarded by some as the number 2 guy in the division, belt or no belt. And welcome back live at ringside. Again, working with Emmanuel Stewart, himself the trainer of the key figure in the heavyweight division, Vladimir Klitschko. Earlier on this evening, Max Kellerman highlighted what could happen to the division if it's an exciting fireworks fight between Maskaev and Peter. A knockout victory for either might stimulate some more life. But what do you think about the possibility of fireworks in this fight? Are we sure to get them?
Well, yes and no. You know, on paper, this matches up as being the most explosive fight in the heavyweight division, especially in view of the fact that most of the top guys are Russian fighters, which I mean they're technical fighters, and that's just the European style is technical. They get their points, they don't take risks, and they don't go for knockouts that much. So this fight should be, but I don't know, because Maskaev is still technically a sound fighter, and I think from listening to him speak today, he's going to use his boxing techniques, place his punches very well. Even though Sam Peter may be very aggressive, I don't think that Maskaev is going to get involved in exchange with him until he feels that it's safe. So it might be a little tame in the beginning, but later on I think it's going to be a pretty exciting fight.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the whole thing develops. Quickly, let's take a look at the belt picture in the heavyweight division. Media constantly focusing on the subject of whether unification can take place. Now there are 3. Vladimir Klitschko a couple of weeks ago having collected in an unexciting fight the belt previously held by Sultan Ibragimov, so he has 2. Maskaev brings 1 into the ring tonight, although the governing body which governs this fight clearly seems to want Peter to become its champion. More on that as we go along. And the other belt is held by Ruslan Shagayev. Max Kellerman, heard Emmanuel Stewart talking about the possibility of a tactical fight. What do you think of the chance that Oleg Maskaev reshuffles the deck here by scoring an upset? We've already seen one.
First of all, belts schmelts.
Yeah.
These sanctioning bodies have no legitimate authority to say who's the champion. Vladimir Klitschko is the number 1 heavyweight in the world. The winner of this fight will be the opponent Klitschko has to beat in order to be considered the heavyweight champion of the world. Now, if that winner is Maskaev, and a Maskaev knockout might be the most likely scenario here, maybe that's the best possible scenario, because Vladimir Klitschko has already beaten Sam Peter, and there will be those, if Peter wins tonight, like Klitschko's trainer Emmanuel Stewart here, who would say, we've already beaten Sam Peter, what more do you want us to do? If Maskaev wins, then based on his record and a win, hopefully by knockout, if Maskaev is to be the winner, we're hoping for a conclusive ending here, it will produce an opponent Klitschko has not yet fought and beaten.
Yeah, Vladimir Klitschko.
Klitschko,
But let's mention the 250-pound fly in the ointment, because the governing body, which I've already mentioned, which seems to want Peter to have its belt, also wants the winner of this fight to fight Vitaly Klitschko, who has gone years without making it successfully through training camp to actually fight, who may not still be able to do so, but who was designated as the guy who's supposed to fight the winner here.
Right, and I think Vladimir and Vitaly have to get together and decide what it is they want to do. It seems to me Vladimir would like to clean up this mess if only his big brother would get out of the way.
Let's ask Vladimir's trainer about that. Emmanuel, how candid can you be about Vladimir Klitschko's feelings regarding his brother's re-entry into this complicated picture?
Well, I would put it exactly the way that Vladimir told me. Vladimir said, I would love, that's my dream, is to clean up the heavyweight division, and especially the winner of this fight coming up between Maskaev and Sam Peter. But I have to respect my brother, and if he does get an opportunity, even though I would rather he didn't, I will support it. He said that's what he said. That's the decision.
If you know the telecast pretty well, maybe you already sense that we are filling here. We're having trouble getting the ring cleared to make way for the heavyweight fight. So, just to continue to entertain you, let's take a look back at how Maskaev got hold of this belt. It was August of 2006, and he was a huge underdog against Hasim Rahman in Las Vegas. In fact, Maskaev had struggled so much since his first knockout of Rahman back in 1999 that a lot of people thought he didn't have any chance in the fight. But then in the 12th round, Maskaev began to rake Rahman over the coals, and this really followed round after round of tactical superiority by Maskaev.
You know, Maskaev has made a career of being brought in as the underdog, only to outbox with his superior counterpunching skills the favored fighter. He did it twice to Rahman, he's done it to many others. But in the past, when Maskaev has reached this position, where a win would really put him over the top, he's come up short. Here he is against Sam Peter, a murderous puncher, but a relatively crude, aggressive brawler. He has a golden opportunity tonight, you know, it's up to him to take advantage of this right now.
Yeah, and some people discount him again because he's 39 years old, and because if you look back at the relatively distant past, you find 5 knockout losses for Maskaev, which suggest, okay, he's got a fragile chin. He's going against Peter, a big puncher, younger, stronger, faster, hungrier, etc., open and shut. Which one is the real Oleg Maskaev, though? The guy who's won 12 straight now with 9 knockouts, or that other guy who used to get knocked out by lesser people?
I would say the guy who's won the fights recently. You know, he went through a bad slump period where I think he lost 3 fights in a row by knockouts. And I was fortunate to be in the gym at the time that when I was training in New York, and he sparred with my cruiserweight champion, NABO champion, Jonathan Banks. And we talked afterwards, and he was just saying he was just in a slump right there. He didn't look that good. But later on, he said he's got himself back together. He's had a great job with his new trainer that he's been working with now, and he just feels that he's on a roll right now.
So, if you're looking for the possibility of Maskaev scoring a knockout upset, one thing that might encourage you there is that Samuel Peter, once regarded as having a spectacular chin, was down 3 times in his last fight against Jamil McCline in Madison Square Garden. Let's go back to October of last year, round 2, and suddenly Peter, who had never been down, gets caught with a little uppercut right there.
But see, that was more, he was off balance and a lack of experience. Jamil McCline knocks a lot of guys down because he has a lot of weight on his sides and he pushes his punches. That's why he doesn't knock too many people off.
But that second knockdown was a real knockdown.
Oh, yeah, that was definitely a real knockdown. But by the same token, even though we consider Sam Peter a big puncher, he really doesn't land many punches on the chin. Most of his punches land on the back of the head or clubs them outside of the Jeremy Williams. He doesn't hit people on the chin that much. He hits them all on the outside. And if he hits anybody on the chin properly, he really would hurt him.
And Peter's supporters love to point out that while waiting 16 months, as he says he did, to fight Maskaev for this title, he actually improved his boxing skills demonstrably, particularly in his second fight with James Toney, where he was doubling and tripling the jab, moving better on his feet, and won the fight clearly. Now here's the tale of the tape. You see the 12-year age advantage for Peter. We've already seen one fighter with a 12-year age advantage lose tonight. A 1-inch height advantage for Maskaev. An arm length equality, 24.5 inches each, measured from the armpit to the end of the fist. Peter weighed in over 250 pounds. Maskaev is also a very big man at 243. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Oleg Maskaev Samuel Peter fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the rules of the World Boxing Council. There is no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight. In case it is caused by an accidental headbutt, we go to the scorecards at the start of the 5th round, and you cannot be saved by the bell of any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim!
Samuel Peter grew up in abject poverty in Nigeria. When he first started boxing, he says that he would train barefoot, that he never had a heavy bag or a speed bag to hit, but rather would polish his punching technique against hanging tires. It's not the ideal origin for making it to the heavyweight championship level.
By the way, he fights like it. He fights in a not the most polished style, but he is so big and strong. As Emmanuel says, he doesn't even really have to hit you cleanly to have the blow land with real force.
But I think that Jim, his first really big-time fight was when he fought with Vladimir Klitschko. And, you know, from that fight, I saw he struggled his last 3 fights, but I think he's really developed into a serious fighter now. That was his introduction to what we call the big-time league. Up until then, he was fighting Class B guys. He just clubbed and knocked around. But since then, he's been struggling, but I think he's gotten a better attitude about everything in boxing now, and is a much better fighter.
You need only look at that neck. 19.5 inches in circumference to see why he is regarded as a guy who can take a punch. The 3 knockdowns against McCline, notwithstanding. And now here comes Oleg Maskaev to the strains of Another One Bites the Dust. And the sombrero is quite a ploy.
We've seen recently on HBO, Carlos Quintana upset Paul Williams, a guy with a good amateur background, take on a kind of physical phenomenon and expose him. Oleg Maskaev has a good amateur background, and although it's technical early in fights, he generally finishes with knockouts. It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Included in that amateur background was a first-round stoppage of Vitaly Klitschko, which he accomplished with hand speed.
Well, he said that by his own admission, he said as soon as his Klitschko's trainer jumped in the ring and stopped it because Klitschko Vitaly had an injury, and the trainer was worried about the injury reoccurring. Even back then, he had injuries. So, but nevertheless, he had a solid amateur background, and that's what's really occurring. A lot of these, as we call Russian champions, they have solid backgrounds. Samuel Peter, total of 20 amateur fights, even in himself. Jamil McClain, almost no amateur fights. And we look at Hasim Rockman. So it's a lot, not just the system, it's just that they have better amateur backgrounds where our fighters don't have them.
Maskaev is managed, you might have seen there in the picture briefly, by Dennis Rappaport, whom you'll remember 20 years ago or 30 years ago from his association with Jerry Cooney. And one final point before we go to the ring. We always focus on the Eastern European origins of fighters like Maskaev and Vladimir Klitschko. They live in the United States. They live here full time. They function as Americans. Let's go to the ring announcer for the official introduction.
And supervisor of this fight to 12 rounds, Rex Walker. El presidente del Consejo Mundial de Boxeo, José Sulaimán. El supervisor de la pelea, Rex Walker. Una producción de Don King Productions in association with Duba Boxing and Pepe Gomez Promotion. Presenting los jueces para esta pelea, the judges for this fight, Herminio Cuevas from Mexico, Ken Morita from Japan, Daniel Van de Wiele from Belgium, el referee de México, Guadalupe Garcia. El doctor de ring, José Luis Ibarra y Víctor Aguilar. A 12 rounds, por primera vez en la historia, en territorio mexicano. 12 rounds for the first time in Mexico. To unify the heavyweight title of the World Boxing Council. Para unificar el campeonato pesado completo del Consejo Mundial de Boxeo. En la esquina roja, in the red corner, con 250 libras 3 cuartos, 250 pounds 3 quarters, 29 peleas ganadas, una perdida, 22 knockouts, 21 wins, 1 loss, 22 KOs. Originally from Nigeria, originario de Nigeria, residing in Las Vegas, Nevada, the WBC Interim World Champion, Samuel the Nigeria Nightmare Peter. Y en la esquina azul, and in the blue corner, 243 libras, 240 pounds. 34 wins, 5 losses, 26 knockouts. Residing in West Sacramento, California, fighting for Russia. The WBC champion, the champion of the world, Oleg Maskaev.
¡Hey! ¿Las instrucciones? ¿No voy a dar instrucciones?
Por favor, lectura de las instrucciones. For the instructions.
Okay, lady man. I already give you the instructions in the dressing room. Good luck. I want a clean fight. Remember, This is the line where the low blows are legal. Okay? Check the gloves and go to your corner. Good luck.
If you watched the lightweight title fight between Diaz and Campbell, you saw why you love the lightweights. Both these guys are big punchers, and if one of them lands, you're going to see why you like the heavyweights.
Well, already in the first heavyweight matchup of the evening, North Carolina has beaten Duke and Durham. Now on to the next heavyweight fight. And I've seen that referee before, Emmanuel Stewart. He's the guy who stopped the fight between Oliver McCall and Lennox Lewis in London in 1993. A stoppage with which Lennox doesn't really argue now, incidentally, which means that 15 years have gone by. They walk to each other, and it begins. Two very big men who can punch. Peter range finding with the jab. Maskaev staying at range.
From listening to the instructions coming from the corner of Samuel Peter, which is basically from Stacey McKinney and Pops, as we call him, Sam Anderson, they are very concerned about Maskaev's right hand. That's why they tell him, Sam, to keep his left hand up.
No punch. 3-5.
Well, if you saw Maskaev knock Hasim Rahman through the ropes with a right hand in Atlantic City in 1999, as many of our viewers did, you understand why you worry about it, but he was tremendously effective against Hasim Rahman with a little left hook. One thing I've noticed about Maskaev, if he finds a weakness in your arsenal early on, if he finds a hole where he can work in your defense, he will go to it again and again and again.
See the pace here, so much different from the lightweight fight we just saw. But the drama, the tension is higher because the fight can end at any moment the way these guys punch.
Neither man has really tried a power shot yet. Sam Peter reaches out with the right hand to go to the body, reaches with the left hand to go to the body. Maskaev still just focusing upstairs.
Every time Sam starts making an aggressive motion, Maskaev starts backing away, trying to keep space, trying to keep distance where he can place his shots and get in and out.
We know that Maskaev has been told to be cautious about Peter's power in the first 3 or 4 rounds, and then to begin stepping up the intensity moment by moment. Peter has produced some picture book knockouts, like his left hook beheading of Jeremy Williams.
As has Maskaev, like his knocking Rahman through the ropes.
Yep. Hard right hand by Peter, and he follows it with another right hand.
Sam looks very relaxed. He seems that I'm very impressed with the right hand because most of his shot used to be clubbing punches, but he's shooting more straight-up punches now, but can never relax too much with Maskaev. He's a cagey old guy, and he's always looking for that one shot.
Peter also produces a little left hook off the jab, and now Maskaev swings his first 2 power shots, and there's that punch to the back of the head, which Maskaev's people have spent weeks complaining about and suggesting that Peter must be watched. And the end of round 1.
Good round, Samuel. But the thing is, you got to just double jab and take a step in, But he's throwing right hands at you, so make sure you keep ducking under, rolling under. Then all you get your rhythm going, then you're going to come with combinations.
Come on, get your legs out. Listen, when he throws the jabs, you make a miss, throw 2 and 3 jabs. You gotta beat him to that jab. Watch when he hyperextends. You gotta counter him right away with the jab. Or aim all your punches towards the heart. All right? And let go. This guy, don't give him that respect, bro. Don't give him that respect.
CompuBox numbers in a relatively sparse round one. Maskaev 5 out of 32, Peter 14 out of 51. Those two right hands over the top surely won the round in my view for Sam, Peter. And now they go to the second.
You know, the right hands that Maskaev threw, I was not that impressed with. He seemed like he was kind of clubbing them, throwing them. He had to wide arch in his right hand tonight, and, you know, and it looked a little bit slow.
Maskaev looks far more apprehensive against Peter than was the case against Rahman back in August of 06. Of course, Maskaev's only had one fight in those 16 months, and that's one possible deficit for him is ring rust in the fight. To make up for it, his manager, Dennis Rappaport, says that he sparred 170 rounds in training. That's a lot.
That's a lot of sparring. But, you know, when this fight was first made mention originally, everybody, particularly Vladimir and I, we thought it was going to be a mismatch. Sam Peter's going to destroy Maskaev. And now that the fight took place, more people are giving Maskaev a better chance simply because of Sam not looking too impressive in the three fights that he had. Yeah, the two fights with James Toney and the fight with Jimmy McClain. So without doing anything, Maskaev's odds seem to improve with the public a lot more.
And now Maskaev is getting much more active in round two after having laid back through most of round one.
Maskaev is 39 years old. And Peter fought a total of 36 rounds against Vladimir Klitschko and James Toney. That's like getting a PhD in heavyweight boxing. It was not evident in Peter's performance against McClain. But here, Emmanuel, I think you're seeing some improvements.
That's what I said. I think he's now, even though he didn't look at him impressive in those fights, I think beginning with Vladimir, he really changed and became a Class A fighter. And you can see the improvement now.
On the other hand, Maskaev has found a couple of answers in round two. A little while ago, you saw him counter over a right hand with a quick left hook that landed flush. That left hook was tremendously important against Rahman in setting him up for the 12th round knockout.
Even in some of Maskaev's best wins of his career, he hasn't started fast. He is technical, he studies his opponent, and as you mentioned earlier, Jim, he exploits weaknesses as the fight progresses.
Right, stop, no punch.
Maskaev originally lived in Staten Island. Recently, he's been making a family move to Sacramento, California. He was very enthusiastic about moving to Sacramento back in 2006 because he was going to set up a real estate investment business. It wasn't exactly the perfect moment in time for setting up a real estate investment business, so he slowed down on that plan for the moment. Peter backs Maskaev up with a big left hand. Tries to go to the body with his right.
Peters is getting closer as the fight goes on this round here. He's getting a little better range now than he had before.
Maskaev chopping over the top with the right hand.
But it's a slow chopping right hand. There's no speed to it.
Okay, we're going to have to come off your flat feet. That's what's
The Tennessee Volunteers have long been a basketball powerhouse in the women's game. Now behind colorful coach Bruce Pearl, the men's program was briefly atop the rankings. Find out what's behind Pearl's success on the next Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel, premiering Monday night, March 10. And March 22, Boxing After Dark returns with lightweight titleist Joel Casamayor taking on Michael Katsidis.
Get those jabs going. 2 and 3 jabs. Don't wait. Don't wait, Oleg. Don't wait. Give him some water.
Take a deep breath. You got about 30 seconds. There you go.
Ain't no problem. We ain't got no problem. Let's go. Take the miss, son. Take the miss.
All right, let's get the chair.
CompuBox numbers in the second round totally evened up. Maskaev 15 out of 48, including 10 out of 34 jabs. Peter 14 out of 48, including 7 out of 31 jabs. And we go to round three.
Stop. No punch. Clean fight.
Little jab lands for Peter. Maskaev misses with the left hook, and once again, Peter hits Maskaev on the back of the head with the right hand.
But what's interesting, when Peter avoids the punches of Maskaev, he seems to do it so relaxed, which is interesting because he's never been known for that, but his defensive skills have improved a lot, his upper body movement and everything, and he's totally relaxed in there, and his jab works better than Maskaev when he throws it.
I got to say, guys, since late in the last round, I think Maskaev's made some adjustments, and I see him fighting much better over the last maybe minute of the last round and so far this round.
Well, Harold Letterman gave him the second round. Twice in this round now, he's been hit on the back of the head. What about this Sam Peter thing of hitting people in the back of the head, Vladimir? It was important in producing the Emmanuel, it was important in producing the 3 knockdowns of Vladimir Klitschko in Atlantic City.
Well, that was really a part of his foul at the beginning, but I don't think that's the case anymore.
He catches Maskaev and wobbles him with the right hand there.
Maskaev's badly hurt.
And now Peter is just unloading in the corner. Maskaev not firing back, but blocking most of the shots. He blocked almost all those punches with his gloves. Now let's see if he has any legs.
Sam need to just take his time. He'll catch him again with the same punch, buddies. Don't burn yourself out.
Peter's jab is impressive here.
Now Maskaev's got his leg back, and he rocks Peter with a left hook. And now it's Peter who's on the defensive.
This is turning out to be almost like a real heavyweight brawl. Not too many crisp, sharp movements or punches.
Peter had Maskaev hurt a minute into the round. And a minute and 15 seconds later, Maskaev hurt Peter with a left hook.
You know, that's because when they exchange, Emmanuel, even though Peter's younger and at this point has more athleticism, Maskaev's punches are shorter.
It's much more experience too. You know, experience from the amateurs. I mean, he did a lot of things off of instinct.
What a comeback in this round by Oleg Maskaev.
Peter's inexperienced, so when he gets tired, he's tired. When a guy with experience of mouth, he can be tired, but that other experienced person keeps fighting for him. And that's what looked like is happening in this fight now.
Both men walk very slowly to their corners after a tumultuous round 3.
Don't get careless. Shut your legs up. When you join punches, you got to go in a circle. Can't stand in front of there. This guy can't take a punch ball. You got to go to the body. Just some water, bro. Come on. You're going to win.
Bang and trying to trade this round, all right?
There you go.
You need to box through this round, all right? Let's give you 1 round to recover and everything, okay? Do what we tell you to do.
And listen, counter the right hand. Counter the right hand. Because he's throwing them at him.
Here we see Sam Peter land the right hand. It wasn't so much of a clean shot, but it caught right on the side of the head where most of his power punches come from. And Maskaev at this time is getting away, didn't get hit with anything clean after that. And here we see coming back, Maskaev come back with his exchange, and he lands a grazing left hook, I think, that caught Peter. But none of them were really clean, direct punches on the chin.
But oftentimes in this division, you'll see guys badly hurt on punches to the temple or the top of the head or behind the ear. 9 of Maskaev's 16 connects in that round were in the last minute. Relatively even CompuBox numbers. Harold, how do you have it through 3?
Look at Jim, 2 rounds to 1, 29-28, Samuel Peter. I gave him rounds 1 and 3. Jim, I thought you had to give him the 3rd round based on that huge flurry in the middle of the round. But, you know, Oleg Maskaev certainly came back at the end of the round. Jim, I got to tell you one thing. You mentioned Lupe Garcia stopping Lennox Lewis's fight in London. The judge in this fight, Daniel Vandervelde, stopped Lennox Lewis's fight in Johannesburg.
Well, and somewhere Lennox is watching and laughing. At this point, he can. Lennox Lewis is in the rare position of getting better every day.
He's thinking to himself at this point, we'll hold that thought. He's thinking to himself at this point, I lost 2 fights in my career. We're talking about both of them.
But he did knock out both guys in return matches, too.
Viciously.
Yeah.
Well, and just to quote it again, a distinction that Lennox holds along with only Rocky Marciano, the only 2 heavyweight champions who have defeated every man with whom they were ever in the ring.
Gene Tunney lost to Harry Greb, avenged the loss. Later won the heavyweight championship Unless I'm missing someone, I guess he's the third.
All right, I'll have to accept it. Well done, Max. That's the third.
Still a very small group.
Small fraternity.
Stop. Stop. No punch. Stop. Stop.
A slow-paced puncher's
Slow
delight.
pace, yeah, and I'm looking at Sam is starting to throw this wide right hands again. And going down the stretch, he better watch because Maskaev's eyes seem to be more alert. And I'm looking at the experience in his eyes. I see a lot of experience in Maskaev's eyes starting to show as the fight goes on.
In recent years, you'll recall that there's one governing body which has adopted open scoring for title fights, and this is it. So at the end of this round, the judges' scores are going to be announced to the audience. If you listen up, you'll hear how the judges have scored the fight to this point.
Listen up. Listen up.
Sammy, you're not using the jab enough, okay?
You're waiting too long. You're waiting too long.
If you get your jab working, you're going to have no problem with this guy, okay? Deep breath and let it out slow. You're giving the guy a chance because you're not jabbing enough. You're in dog shape, okay? Stop worrying about time.
Once you go with those, you got to come with the right hand. Hook and right hand. Let's go. You're going to beat this guy, bro. You're going to beat him. This guy's soft in the body, bro. You got to be alive. Don't stay in front of the man. You stay in front, you're looking for, you're going to be a victim there. Side to side, break rhythm. Let's go.
Well, we did not hear the scores, and that may have something to do with the relatively inexperienced local ring announcer, but one way or another, the predicted open scoring fiasco. Oh, now they're going to announce it.
Judge A, 37-39, Peter. Judge B, 37-39, Peter. Judge C, 38-40, Peter.
No punch. No punch.
So the third judge must have scored 2 even rounds. Peter lands a good right hand and a stiff left jab. Maskaev comes back with a 1, 2, 3, takes the right hand for his trouble.
You know, the way these guys are winging shots, anything can happen here. But as Emmanuel said earlier, Maskaev's muscle memory is more correct, and he throws shorter punches in exchanges, and that probably tips the scales in his favor in those exchanges.
But Peter has a little bit better coordination upper body movement. Just a little bit more.
Harold, even though Sam Peter had a very slow round 4, landing only 5 out of 21 punches, all 3 judges have Peter ahead by 2 points. What do you make of that?
I tell you the truth, I got it the same way. I had 39-37 Samuel Peter, so I can't really argue with him. The one score that bothers me, though, is that 40-38. I mean, certainly I thought Maskaev clearly won the second round. They scored 2 rounds even in this fight. I mean, I think a judge could have picked the winner.
As you mentioned, Jim, given the inexperience of the ring announcer, it's possible that the scores have been mistabulated.
It's also
or misread.
Yeah. That's quite possible. That's a good point, Max. Under any circumstances, I'll stick with my personal opinion that open scoring is a dreadful idea, which does way more to sap the fight of its competitive suspense than to provide that element of integrity that the audience is supposedly going to get.
It's a terrible idea in practice, if not in theory.
Hard right hand by Maskaev, and Peter returns with one of his own. But Oleg keeps firing up the middle, and that may ultimately make a difference.
Yeah, Peter is returning counter punches. Whenever he gets hit, he returns a punch back automatically. But, you know, I'm just looking at Maskaev's eyes. He still seems to be studying him and trying to analyze it. He's trying to land one big clean punch, and it very well could happen because Peter's fighting is so flat-footed. And as the fight goes on, I think he's going to get sloppy.
And one more thing about those scores. Oleg Maskaev has a lawsuit now against the governing body which is sanctioning the fight.
What vicious shot.
Tremendous shot taken by Peter, and he came right back. That means a lot in terms of actually destroying the confidence of a guy like Maskaev. Those are the shots that Maskaev normally knocks people out with.
More on the lawsuit in round 6.
Oleg, when you control combinations, you cannot leave a spacing. I told you about that. All right, come on. They got you losing this fight, so you got to stop. You got to stop moving and bro. You got to start moving. Now you got to start throwing punches and let go to the body. I've been begging you to go.
You're smart with the left hand, okay?
Now listen, they just said that you will win him by 2 points. Now he heard it. Don't let this guy outbox you, Samuel. Hustle up, and get a little rhythm going up in your upper body, man, so you can go.
Here you see the right hand that came in by Maskaev. Couldn't have been a better punch thrown. And Peter took the punch, and they actually came right back shortly after that and landed punches of his own.
CompuBox numbers in the 5th round. Maskaev landed 12 out of 28 jabs. Peter 1 out of 13. You saw the power shots for Maskaev. How could you not give him the round? But, as I mentioned, Maskaev and his contingent have a lawsuit now against the governing body which sanctions the fight. So you might reasonably ask, how could he win a decision under these circumstances?
And you might reasonably answer, he couldn't.
Stop. Don't stop.
Not to mention that we are in the country which is the headquarters of that governing body. And Peter's promoter is known to have an extremely friendly relationship with it.
It would be nice if it went the distance and Maskaev deserved to win, that he did get the decision. It would be even nicer if we had a conclusive, concussive ending here. The way they're winning shots, it looks like a conclusive ending is likely.
Yeah. Hard to imagine them going the distance, firing power shots like this, except, of course, that the pace remains so slow. Good body shot by Peter. And Maskaev once again makes clear to the referee that Peter's hitting him on the back of the head. And now referee Lupe Garcia warns Peter, but does not take a point. And I don't know about you, Emmanuel. I think it is still very big in his arsenal to hit people in the back of the head.
I don't really, you can't say that was a rapid punch. It was just the way that Maskaev was bending his head down to it. It was not enough where the referee could really take a point away.
Also, even though Peter is not tall, he has long arms. And I think sometimes the way he wings these punches with his long arms, they wind up in the back of the head, whether or not it's intentional.
Yes, if he launches one of those looping overhand rights too late, while the fighter has already moved forward, that's where the glove is going to go.
That was the same thing there, but they're overhand rights a lot. It's different when you get in a clinch and you're purposely reaching hit a guy in the back of the head. But the punches that just come from around and a loop of much, you can't control that.
Crowd thought that Peter had been hurt by the left hook. In fact, he was just off balance.
Right.
It seems as a fatigue sets in, the fight's going to favor Maskaev, as I said, because the experience will make him able to think better in an exhausted situation as compared to Peter.
Hard right hand by Peter.
And he's hurt.
Knocks Maskaev back. Maskaev goes right back into the ringer, and now he is momentarily out on his feet.
And Sam takes his time to place his punches.
Peter lands on the back of the head twice more. Maskaev tries to show the referee. Hard shot to the face.
He's fighting very smart this time. He's not just throwing a lot of punches. He's placing every one of his punches.
Amazing that Maskaev is still up.
It's over.
It's over. And Garcia stops it.
That's the kind of knockout we were looking for. There is a guy with a mandate to fight Vladimir Klitschko now.
I agree. That was the result that the division needed to settle the question of where to go next.
That's a real heavyweight knockout. I mean, and I like the fact that when they had him hurt, he didn't get excited this time. He placed every punch.
Yeah, that was a clinical
every
finish.
Punch, yes. Very, very good professional finish.
Almost Kelly Pavlik-like. Peter closed the show, landing 25 out of 35 power shots. An excellent 6th round TKO for Samuel Peter against a smart, experienced, good technical fighter in Oleg Maskaev.
You know what? He is the first Nigerian heavyweight champion. We've had a lot of good heavyweight contenders and challengers, but he's the first one.
He's the first Nigerian heavyweight titleist.
Yeah, champion. Titleist?
Titleist is what I would say. You can say champion if you want to.
Yeah, oh yeah, heavyweight.
Okay, this is a distinction that, you know, to me the champion is when we have one guy who we are sure is the dominant fighter in the division.
Believe me, down in Nigeria, they're going to take it the other way. He's the heavyweight
the first Nigerian fighter with a heavyweight belt, and I think it's great for the continent of Africa.
Yeah.
Here's the punch that first hurt Maskaev.
Oh, man, that was definitely nothing clubbing about that on the back of the head. That was a good, clean blow right there. But what was more impressive was the way he followed up after that.
And now here's the end of the fight. And this is where Peter finishes with a series of strong blows on the face. None of those punches landed on the back of the head.
Nope.
Most of them landed on the face or the chin. And the stoppage was well-deserved, though it came with seconds remaining in the round.
Yeah, but still, he was just clean, accurate blows, and nothing hardly missed. Every punch was effective.
So we don't have to worry about the judges. Don't have to worry about influence. Samuel Peter made it unequivocal. And now the Nigerian Nightmare steps forward to stake his claim as the man you must fight to prove yourself as the leader of the division.
And you know what was impressive, too, is the fact that he showed that he could take a good punch when he got hit solid on the chin. Never did he waver, and they showed great coordination. He was slipping and sliding. A lot of things that he didn't do when he first fought with Vladimir, as an example. He just walked straight in.
Now, just in case you don't remember, the fight was 2.5 years ago in Atlantic City. Samuel Peter fought Vladimir Klitschko and knocked him down 3 times. But Klitschko won every other round in the fight and cruised to a 114-111, 114-111, 114-111 unanimous decision over Peter. Peter wants a chance to avenge that loss.
He's a much improved fighter. He didn't have upper body movement, placement of his punches, anything like he did tonight. He's much, much more improved. And whether his next fight is with Vitaly Klitschko, Vladimir, whoever, he is a serious threat with that kind of punching power.
About 10 years ago, there was a Nigerian fighter named Ike Ibeabuchi who was seen by many as the uncrowned king of the division. He wound up going to jail. Sam Peter ultimately took his place and got the job done. Now let's go to Victor Perez with the official particulars on the decision.
After 2 minutes 56 seconds, después de 2 minutos 56 segundos, referee Lupe Garcia stopped the fight for a technical knockout. As the winner, como ganador por knockout técnico, Samuel the Nigerian Nightmare Peter.
County box numbers in the fight. Peter with a 12-punch edge and landed punches. He threw 12 more as well. Power shots made the difference in the fight. Sam Peter landed 21 more, threw 28 more, landed at a higher percentage. Put together the package in round 6 that closed the fight. And now let's go to Max Kellerman in the ring with the winner.
Congratulations, Sam, on a spectacular stoppage win. What message did you just send?
Undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Who next?
Well, let's talk about who's next. The only clamor to see Vitaly Klitschko and you is in a sanctioning body.
Tomorrow. I'm ready tomorrow.
The rest of the world wants to see you and Vladimir sort it out, to see who the heavyweight champion of the world is.
I'm the best heavyweight champion of the world. I'm have WBC with me. I'm undefeated champion, undisputed champion. I want who next?
Okay, Vladimir beat you the first time, though you did knock him down 3 times. What do you have to say about a rematch with Vladimir Klitschko?
We knock him out. We knock him out. Well, for the first place, I want to thank the state governor of Akwa Ibom State, the Excellency Goswin Akpabio. He's the one that sponsored me for the camp. The best governor ever I've seen. Love boxing. He loved boxing, and he put me very well. I have this opportunity to say hi to my president.
Sam, what did you learn in your fights with Vladimir and with James Toney?
I'm saying the truth. James Toney is the best boxer. I beat James Toney twice. I can beat any boxer in the world. I still give credit to James Toney. He's the best.
Again, I want to ask, I understand there's a sanctioning body silliness in terms of fighting Vitaly Klitschko. Vladimir is the recognized #1 guy. You two, if you fought, the winner would be recognized for the first time since Lennox Lewis was champion as the heavyweight champion of the world. Will you fight Vladimir Klitschko next if you can?
All of them, they're going down. They're going down.
We don't care how they come.
Congratulations, Sam.
Thank you. Glory be to Almighty God. Thank you.
Jim.
I didn't understand the answer. I'm not sure what he said about whether he would fight Vladimir Klitschko next. The fact is, Don King was standing next to him. Don King is his promoter and has power over him. Don King is very close to the governing body that wants him to fight Vitaly Klitschko. I got a hunch he's going to fight Vitaly instead of Vladimir, Emmanuel.
Well, that could happen, but I know from, being close with Sam Peter that he really has a lot of respect of the way that Vladimir has progressed since he fought. Because, in fact, Vladimir, I guess, since has had impressive knockouts over Chris Bird, Calvin Brock, Ray Austin, and Brewster also. He has a lot of respect for the way he felt. They said that Vladimir has climbed and progressed so much more. But I think it's the big fight that everybody would love to see. And it's not like 2 or 3, it's the only fight that the public wants to see. I know myself as a fan will see Vladimir and Samuel Peter fight a rematch. Just the fact that those 3 knockdowns in the first fight. And the reason that I never complained during that fight about head blows in the back of the head, because I felt that's just the way he fights. And that's why Vladimir and us, we never complained at all about it. It was a rough fight, but he throws his punches that way. And tonight, I was very impressed with his knockout.
And if they were to fight again, Vladimir with a slightly faster pace probably, stronger jab, this guy, it seems, might be the heavier puncher. What must Vladimir do to win?
I think he's a heavier puncher, and I think he's improved. His upper body movement, his defense a lot has improved. He has some rough fights, but he's seasoned now. I think he's really a class fighter. And also his approach to training, to boxing, is totally different. I spent a lot of time with him myself personally, and I know that he said he used to eat about 4 or 5 candy bars at night, potato chips and stuff. But after the fight with Vladimir, he changed. He became a professional fighter. It would be an exciting fight, and it would probably have the same drama that we experienced going into that 12th and final round. Vladimir may be ahead on points possibly again, but one blow can change all of that. So it would be a great dramatic fight.
Knockouts are what heavyweight punching fans want to see. Knockouts are what do it for the audience, not decisions, as Vladimir Klitschko's win over Ibragimov a couple of weeks ago categorically demonstrated. Max Kellerman and Sam Peter going to have a lot of new American fans after tonight.
Indeed. Vladimir Klitschko, look, he's the best heavyweight in the world, and he would be a substantial favorite going into a rematch with Sam Peter. I said off the top of this broadcast that, maybe the best thing to happen here is Maskaev wins, because he hasn't fought Klitschko yet. Klitschko's already fought and beaten Sam Peter. Sam hadn't looked great in his last fight against Jamil McCline. We needed someone to create a mandate here to fight Vladimir Klitschko to finally create a heavyweight champion, the first since Lennox Lewis retired. Sam Peter created a mandate here. He didn't win a boring 12-round decision. He won by an exciting knockout, a conclusive ending. And given the 3 knockdowns of Vladimir in their first fight, the 2 wins against James Toney, and by the way, the fact that he survived those knockdowns, Sam Peter did, against the very big, hard-punching Jamil McCline, and now has knocked out Oleg Maskaev, it's high time that Sam Peter and Vladimir Klitschko, not Vitaly, got back into the ring.
Now if we can only dislodge the governing body, which wants the right man, Sam Peter, to fight the wrong Klitschko, Vitaly. All right, it's been a terrific night of boxing here in Cancun. You saw the great upset by Nate Campbell over Juan Diaz. You saw a thrillingly definitive knockout by Sam Peter of Oleg Maskaev. We want to thank all of you for being with us tonight. If you've missed any part of this telecast, you can catch it again on HBO tomorrow at 9 a.m. or on HBO 2 at 4:30. Tonight's installment of World Championship Boxing will be rebroadcast a final time, also on HBO 2 Tuesday night at midnight. This Monday night, Real Sports catches up with former Major League All-Star Lenny Dykstra, now a highly successful Wall Street investor. And March 22, Boxing After Dark returns with 135-pound titleist Joel Casmayor taking on Michael Katsidis. next on HBO. Stay tuned for Countdown to Marquez Pacquiao 2. And now for our entire HBO crew, I'm Jim Lampley, saying good night and thanks for being with us.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports.
On the next Boxing After Dark, Joel Casamayor has weathered fierce opposition in the lightweight ranks. Now he's set to rain down a hailstorm of fury against the fast-moving, hard-hitting Michael Katsidis. Undefeated with 20 knockouts in 23 fights, this almighty Aussie brings the thunder.
This is the birth of a special fighter.
Casamayor versus Katsidis, plus Labrado Andrade versus Robert Stieglitz. It all happens live, Saturday, March 22nd.
Next on HBO. Every second counts as these two rivals prepare for their highly anticipated rematch. Countdown to Marquez Pacquiao 2. Next on HBO.